Halloween the game is getting closer to release, and on the surface, the numbers could look really good. But there's one unknown I think we need to talk about before we start judging how successful the multiplayer game mode could be. What if a significant portion of the people playing at launch aren't there for the multiplayer at all? Halloween is being marketed heavily as an asymmetrical multiplayer horror game, but it also comes with a standalone single player story. And once a person completes the story mode, they may move on to another game. As a result, future gamers that's looking for confirmation on buying the game and having to use a source like SteamDB for evaluation could get the wrong idea about the enjoyment that Halloween the game provides. This is where IllFonic and Gun are going to have to prove that players have a reason to stay in Haddonfield after the story is over. Let's start with the biggest reason I think those launch numbers could be misleading. The single player audience, Halloween story mode, is confirmed to have 6 chapters, multiple difficulty levels, collectibles, challenges, and additional rewards. You play as Michael Myers as the story leads into events of the original 1978 film. The developers have also designed the single player experience to help young players learn Michael abilities and gameplay if they so happen to go to the multiplayer game mode. And this is where my theory comes in. If the story takes roughly 2 to 3 hours to complete, as some community estimates suggest, there could be a large group of players who buy Halloween, experience the story, maybe play a few matches, and then move on. I'm not saying this is what will happen, and there is currently no player data proving it. But imagine the game launches with 10,000 players. If even a third of those players primarily came for the story and never became regular multiplayer players, that changes how we should interpret those initial numbers. Again, that's my hypothetical example, not actual player data. The important number won't be how many players download Halloween during launch week. It'll be how many players are still playing multiplayer weeks and months later. This brings me to the second point, longevity. Fans don't just want Halloween to launch, they want it to last. And there are already some positive signs for the game. Halloween the game is launching with multiple maps. The developers are selling a standard edition for $40 and a $149.99 limited collector's edition, and that collector's edition includes physical collectibles along with additional in-game content. The physical editions are scheduled for October 6th, while the digital release is September 8th. But honestly, none of that proves long-term support. What will prove it is what happens after launch. New maps, meaningful balance updates, new characters, bug fixes, communication with the community, and reasons to keep coming back. IllFonic previously demonstrated that it can support multiplayer games for years. Just look at Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. So this is where I think Halloween the game has the opportunity. Don't just tell players this is a game you're committed to. Show them. If IllFonic and Gun consistently communicate, fix problems quickly, and continue expanding the multiplayer experience, they can turn skeptical players into long-time players. Then there's the Australia situation that just popped up recently, and this story has taken an unexpected turn for the better. The Australia Classification Board refused classification for Halloween because smoking gave the character a buff. Well, now New Zealand players can now access the game and play the digital version online. This was almost an unnecessary hurdle before the game is months from launching. This game does not need any more challenges than what they're already facing. And that's really what makes Halloween the game interesting going into launch. I don't think the single player mode is a bad thing. I plan on playing it before hopping into multiplayer from a learning mechanic standpoint. The concern that I'm trying to bring forth is, will the long-term engagement be affected by a two-sided launch of a famous ASIM character game? Some players may come from Michael Myers, play through the story, and leave. Others could discover the multiplayer and become the core community that keeps the game alive for years. Those players can conquer the learning curve of competitiveness. I'm actually leaning toward this being a good game, but I think the real test isn't going to be September 8th. It's going to be what Halloween looks like 3 months, 6 months, and a year later. If IllFonic and Gun can prove that they're committed to supporting this game and giving players reasons to keep coming back, then those initial numbers won't matter too much, because the real victory won't be getting players into Haddonfield, it'll be convincing them to stay. Remember to subscribe. Welcome to Mr. Unleashed World.